Well, if you are a conservative, first of all, I respect you for watching this channel. We're not very kind to you. And second of all, here's why we're not very kind to you. A bunch of conservatives just listened to Ron DeSantis say that he would, as president, uh, endorse extrajudicial killings at the border. In other words, executing somebody without a trial, simply just taking out a pistol and doing it, huh? When he was talking to that group of conservatives in the audience at, I believe, Fox News, and he said that, they applauded him. That's pretty standard in a lot of ways. We're going to get to the clip. It's from Luke Beasley, but I want to be clear about why it's standard. It's standard because it is a demagogue who is confident that his audience only wants cruelty from him and does not want real solutions. And the audience, predictably, was exactly what he was expecting. What he said was childlike in terms of an understanding of how governments function. This is brought to us by Luke Beasley. We're going to watch the first half of the clip, and then we're going to talk about the clip ourselves on the other side. And I'm going to be salty about it. But don't worry, I will also tell you why I think it's good that we're getting a real sober look at this.
Ron DeSanctimonious he's had many, I would say, inhuman moments. I think it's fair to say on screen, usually around other people. This is a different kind of inhuman. He's usually had these awkward moments where it indicates that he's never engaged with another human socially before, and then he has moments that almost come off sociopathic. And so I want to play this clip from an interview that Ron DeSantis had on Sean Hannity's show. And he's basically giving Luke his new Border Patrol policy. Brace yourselves.
We're using lethal force against the cartels. Right. If they're bringing fentanyl in, breaking into our country, we're going to leave them stone cold dead at the border. Trust me, they will get the message.
We will leave them stone cold dead, he says.
Real quick.
Stone cold dead at the border. Trust me, they will get the message.
That's what I really want to look at. We'll listen to a little of what Luke Beasley has to say. But they largely talk about Ron DeSantis. What more is there to understand about Ron DeSantis? There's not much to get. He's a sociopath. He stood by in Guantanamo Bay while people were being tortured. It was his job to look out for their rights. What did he do? He suggested ways that the torturers could torture instead. He's not a decent human being. He's not even a regular human being. He's not even an okay human being. He belongs in a prison cell for the rest of his days, for the safety of others, and for the actions he's done on this earth. That's Ron DeSantis. We knew that about him. Those people concern me. Smiling, beaming. Look at the two ladies there in the foreground. One's doubled over with laughter. Ha 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 ha. Killing people. Ha 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 ha. Another applauding, looking at her. I wonder what that gal in the middle's thinking. Is she thinking that her friend has no idea the seriousness of what is being applauded here? Or is she thinking, you don't even know the joy yet, my friend? You don't even know the joy that you'll feel when you learn that through your actions a life was taken very far away, but still you can pat yourself on the back for that, having killed another human being with your cruelty. Maybe. But all of those soft, pampered little nothings sitting in that crowd do clearly understand one thing: the savagery they are calling for won't affect them personally. They won't have to do it. They won't have to see it. They'll only hear about it in a sanitized version. If they ever hear about it at all. They might not actually believe that he has the ability to do this. They might just be celebrating the idea of killing other human beings. Those are who we have to address. If you have a subhuman in your life who currently behaves that way, raise them up to the level of human being. Insist that fools like that actually behave like decent folks. Don't allow them to get away with saying things like that without addressing the genuine reality of what they are talking about. The ending of a life. We'll talk about that more in a moment. But the seriousness of this that played on Fox is right there. Ron DeSantis is on that stage. Sean Hannity is on that stage because that kind of evil exists. Casual evil, lazy evil, disconnected evil. The kind of evil that can only really exist in ignorance. Because when you know the truth of the reality, when you know what the resistance of a trigger feels like on your finger until it's not there, most people are unable to do the kinds of things that a lot of people are cheering on these days. Let's hear what they had to say about the political breakdown to properly express what it is that Ron DeSantis just called for.
We will leave them stone cold dead, he says. Anyone who is in the middle on this subject, stick around. Let us talk about why that is disastrous. He is calling for extrajudicial killing at the border. No due process, no trial, no charges being filed, not even exactly knowing, did we get the right person? Was this just someone coming over to work, or were they a part of the cartel? And then killing them. We'll find, we'll shoot first, ask questions later.
So here's the thing. Listen, I understand that this is, clearly based on the applause, this is going to resonate. This sentiment is going to resonate uncritically with a lot of people. And listen, there is a humanitarian crisis to one extent or another at the southern border. We are experiencing a flood of illicit drugs. There's no question about that. And
there is, but it's not the point that he's making. Let's be clear. The vast majority of drugs that come into the country are smuggled in on a plane. It's that simple. Somebody is entering the country legally, and they take with them an illegal substance. That is the normal way in which it is done. Why is that the normal way? Because it's possible and it's more reliable. That simple. So anybody starting a prescription for dealing with drugs in the country which has always been an excuse to harm people with, melatonin. Anybody starting with that is lying to you. It's that simple. They don't have an actual plan, because an actual plan would begin with where the most drugs are coming in from. But that's not the point this guy's making. I just wanted to correct that. The rest, I'm going to let him cook for.
People are being hurt here in the United States, but that's not an excuse for the executive branch or Border Patrol or any, law enforcement authority to suspend civil rights, to commit extrajudicial murder. And as you say, it presupposes a lie, which is that Border Patrol or whatever law enforcement branch that DeSantis intends to shoot the guns will be unerring in their judgment. And with all due respect to the best of law enforcement, that they don't have unerring judgment. Nobody does. And I don't even know where to begin, because it's such a sociopathic utterance coming from somebody who wants to be the nation's chief executive. And it's also deeply unserious. Like, can you imagine what the legal challenges would be for this? What this would do to relations between the United States and Mexico, which is one of our biggest trade partners? It's just, and then to say nothing of the lives lost. Like, what?
Let's talk about that for a second. Being deeply unserious. And by the way, link in the description. They go into more detail in that video on this very subject, but I want to talk about it. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that he won't try to do it. He might not, but that's a separate conversation. It means it's not a serious proposal. It doesn't actually address the problem. Case in point, if drugs coming into the country is a thing that Ron DeSantis is trying to address, it makes no sense to say, well, this situation just keeps getting worse and worse, so we need to go all out on the border. We need to get as harsh as possible on the border. Why isn't he talking about strengthening TSA? Why isn't he talking about a big investment into technology that will allow us to scan blah, 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 blah? Because he's unserious. And he knows that his voters are unserious people. I'll let you in on a suspicion of mine, because this is Salty Saturday. I suspect that he has the voters pegged. I don't think the voters actually care, even a little bit, about drugs. Even the ones that lost a cousin and say, you better not question me on this because I lost someone. I think that person is so low that they would use the loss of their cousin as an excuse to do something they wanted to do anyway, which is just be cruel to the Browns. Oh, be cool? No, cruel. That's what I meant to say. Be cruel to the Browns. That's what I think they're trying to do. The average MAGA type, yeah. I don't think that they believe that politicians actually do much. And to be fair, they have been told that politicians don't do much. Conservative politicians have set expectations and fulfilled those expectations. And they have told their voters that the things Democrats do are harmful. Every time something goes good in the country, Republicans make sure that they freak out about an M&M or a beer can or whatever other shiny object they can wave around. But at the end of the day, conservative voters are just not serious people. At least they're not serious voters. And you know what? I don't totally mind that. If you really don't think politicians do anything, you're not obligated to participate. And to those people applauding killing people at the border, just shooting them, no trial, just killing someone. Doesn't matter if it's a 13-year-old kid from Texas whose ball bounced into a ravine and they went jogging after it and happened to come across the path of a Border Patrol agent who's out hunting, looking to bag them a brown. Doesn't matter. They're not serious, and they're weighing in on these things. And we should make it a point to inform them that if they don't actually understand any of the things that they're talking about, they have an obligation to politely bow out and not participate until they do understand. Until they understand, for example, that if you were to kill citizens of another country in the manner Ron DeSantis described, it would be war. And yeah, it would be a war we could win at tremendous cost after we just got out of a very long war, and at the expense of the rest of the world cutting us off. You think we had financial hard times when just Russia was angry with us? Imagine the whole world isolating from us. Funny enough, the very capitalist systems which neoliberals, that includes Republicans, have put in place mean that we are dependent on the rest of the world. The people who were cheering for that clearly had no idea that the inevitable consequence of it would be isolationism for the United States in an era where we are simply unable to exist on our own. But really what they don't grasp is even more basic than that, which is what the loss of a life is. Now, whether or not I'm going to have to explain this to them because nobody ever sat them down and told them this. They never watched the Discovery Channel and watched the light fade from a lion's eyes and the look of perplexed horror as it came to understand what was happening. So I will explain that to them now. What happens is this. At the very end, you realize you are matter. Just matter. Returning to a state wherein you are no longer conscious, and you will never again be aware of yourself or the universe. And everything you are ceases to be. And the optimists believe in a number of things. The atheists who are optimists view it as a chemical reaction which you return to. And you do continue on through the effects your free will was able to achieve and the memories of your loved ones. And the theists often believe in an afterlife or reincarnation. But what we all agree on is that your existence as you understand it ends forever, and your family mourns. And that's what Ron DeSantis said he wanted to do to people who were wading across a river because they wanted to be our neighbors. And if you applaud for that, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. You should do many years of soul searching. And then, after you've done your soul searching, you should apologize for who you were until you found yourself.